And Your Worship, we're live.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back, or should I say welcome to the regular meeting of council. We'll start with, actually before I get started, I want to thank staff for this morning's special council meeting and the information that was brought before council. I think that was very valuable information for council, and interesting to learn where we're at financially and where we're at with the Arena Library. Although we're, a few months behind and budget's a little off, we're pretty close there, so this council knows they better get to work to bring that back in line. But excellent job by staff, so thank you so very much. Start off with our land acknowledgement. As we bring this meeting to order, we begin our meeting by recognizing the First Nations, Métis, and the Inuit peoples of Canada as traditional stewards and caretakers of the land. We acknowledge the town of Wasaga Beach is located within the boundaries of Treaty 18, the traditional lands of the Aninashpi, the Haudenosaunee, Tohinantati, and the Wendat, and is home of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples as part of an intricate nationhood that reaches across Turtle Island. At this time of truth and reconciliation, we welcome the opportunity to work together towards new understandings and new relationships, and ask for guidance in all we do. Moving on to item number 2, disclosure of pecuniary interests. Do we have any to declare at this time? Not seeing any. If at some point throughout our meeting you feel you have a pecuniary interest, please let us know. And moving on to item number 3, adoptions of minutes. We do have a few. Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held October 20th, 2022 are hereby adopted as circulated. Questions or comments from council? A mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Timms. All in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to 3.2, special inaugural meeting of council meetings. Resolved that the minutes of the special inaugural meeting of council held November 15th, 2022 are hereby adopted as circulated. Questions or comments? Seeing none, mover and a seconder. Councillor DeLeo, Councillor Ego. All in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. 3.3, a special meeting of council minutes November 16th, 2022. Resolved that the minutes of the special meeting of council held November 16th, 2022 are hereby adopted as circulated. Questions or comments? Seeing none, mover and a seconder, please. Councillor White, Councillor Belanger, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 3.4, a special meeting of council minutes November 17th. Resolved that the minutes of the special meeting of council held November 17th, 2022 are hereby adopted as circulated. Questions or comments? Mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Snell and Councillor Eagle, all in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Item 3.5, resolved that the minutes of the special meeting of council held November 24th, 2022 are hereby adopted as circulated. Questions or comments? Seeing none, mover and a seconder. Councillor Timms, Councillor DeLeo, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Moving on to item number 4, deputations, presentations, petitions, and public meetings. We have none. And item number 5, comment and question period, a 15-minute session wherein persons in attendance at the regular meeting of council have an opportunity to make comments or ask questions pertaining to a staff report, coordinated committee report, or bylaw. Comments will be received for council's consideration, but will not be discussed or debated at this time. I'll just ask if there's anyone in the audience. Ian, you got any questions? All right, since you're the only one here, I think we'll move on. All right. Item number 6, unfinished business. We have 6 items there. We have the reopening of Beach Drive, 6.2, whistleblower policy, 6.3, the non-disclosure agreements, 6.4, snow removal services, 6.5, delegated authority, and 6.6, advisory committees. Any questions or comments on these items? Seeing none. Number 7, correspondence. We have none. And number 8, committee, board, and staff reports. We do have 8.1, coordinated committee report of November 24th. Resolved that council receive the coordinated committee reports of November 24th, 2022 as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. Questions or comments?
Your Worship, chair reports, I believe. Meeting summaries.
Oh, the chair reports, I'm sorry. So chair report. sorry, I'm not seeing that, Madam Clerk. Each the query. So do you want the chairs just to give their reports individually?
Sorry, excuse me. Typically, when we receive the minutes, the chairs read a small summary of the meeting.
Okay.
So we would start with Community Services, Councillor DeLeo.
So, Councillor DeLeo, your chair report for Community Services?
Okay, the following are the highlights from the November 24th, 2022 Community Services section of Coordinated Committee. Committee received the Fire Department monthly report for information. Firefighters responded to 188 incidents in October. Members of the department also completed 28 fire and life safety inspections, as well as 34 hours of public education. Committee also received for information the Recreation, Events and Facilities report for October, highlighting another busy month for staff. It is great to see that minor hockey is now in full swing for the season and that all of our fall-winter programs are rolling out. For full details are available in the report. The committee received for information the fundraising and sponsorship signage proposal and waiver of fees request report. Committee is recommending that council approve the signage proposal request and waive the associated fees of approximately $1,175. As noted in the report, the signage will help promote opportunities to participate in Twin Pad Arena and library funding initiatives. In addition, the committee received for information the fundraising and sponsorship donation amendment report. Committee recommends that council approve a donation agreement amendment that will enable the town to return to the Rotary Club its $16,000 partial sponsorship payment in return for a check for the full sponsorship amount of $80,000. On behalf of the Community Services section of the Coordinated Committee, I ask that council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeLeo. Any questions or comments on that report? All right, moving on to Public Works, I believe is Councillor Timms.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are highlights from the November 24th, 2022 Public Works section of Coordinated Committee. Committee received the Capital Works Project Status Report for information. The report serves as an update on various capital projects the town is moving forward. Committee also received for information an update on the town-wide Drainage Master Plan project. In October 2020, the town awarded the project to Tatum Engineering. Completing hydrologic and hydraulic models will help identify existing storm drainage deficiencies and allow assessments to prioritize improvements. The town hosted a related public information session on October 20th, 2022. The purpose was to present to the public the study work completed to date, which included identifying all areas throughout the town with deficient storm drainage conditions. The next step for the plan includes identifying solutions for the drainage deficiencies. The public should watch our website and social media channels for updates. In other business, the committee received the Drinking Water System Monthly Performance Report for information, as well as the Water Pollution Control Plant Monthly Report. The two systems continue to operate to provincial standards. Committee also received the Wasaga Beach Transit Report for information. Riders took almost 6,300 trips in October compared to 4,557 the month before. On behalf of the Public Works section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that Council approve the recommendations in this report.
Thank you, Councillor Timms. Any questions or comments? Moving on to Public Works, Councillor Belanger. Development Services.
Thank you, Your
Councillor.
Worship. The following are the highlights of the November 24th, 2022 Development Service section of Coordinated Committee. Committee received a letter from Municipal Affairs Minister Steve Clark regarding the Ontario government's More Homes Built Faster plan, known as Bill 23. Committee also received a staff report on the plan. Committee authorized staff to send a letter to the province outlining the town's comments and recommendations regarding the legislation, which aims to help address the housing crisis by building 1.5 million homes over the next decade. Committee received for information the staff report for site plan application SP04/22 and recommended staff continue to process the application. The 11.8 hectare property is at the southeast corner of Knox Road East and Sunnydale Road South. The site plan application proposes the construction of 392 apartment units within 2 adjoined condominium buildings, As well, committee received for information the staff report for site plan application SP05/22 and recommended that staff continue to process the application. The property is at 44 Beck Street. The site plan application proposes the construction of 17 townhomes on the property. Committee also received an update from staff regarding a property at 81 Berkeley Street in July 2021. Council approved a draft plan of subdivision for 12 detached homes. The matter has been on hold pending the completion of the subdivision agreement. Planning staff is satisfied the development has met all necessary requirements to lift the hold provision placed on the site, allowing construction to proceed. Committee is recommending to council that it adopt the updated Committee of Adjustment terms of reference. Recently, staff did a review of the current terms of reference, and there were recommended edits and updates noted to bring the terms of reference up to date to assist the committee in its future endeavors. Lastly, committee received the Building Department Activity Summary for October. The department issued 180 building permits with a total monthly construction value of $55 million. To date, the department has issued 809 permits with a total construction value of $235 million. Also, for the month of October, staff conducted 812 building inspections. On behalf of the Development Service Section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that council approve the recommendation in this report.
Thank you, Councillor Belanger. Any questions or comments on that? All right, moving on to General Government, Deputy Mayor Snell.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights from the November 24th, 2022 General Government section of Coordinated Committee. Committee received the Municipal Law Enforcement Activities Report for October. For the month, the department received 332 calls for service. Calls were in connection to a number of matters, including property standards, noise, parking, and animal control issues. Committee is recommending that council adopt updated terms of reference for the Wasaga Beach Property Standards Committee. Committee also received for information a letter from the NVCA regarding the appointment of directors to the Conservation Authority. Committee is recommending that council appoint Councillor Joe Belanger as the town's NVCA representative. Committee also received for information correspondence from MPAC and the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation. Finally, committee approved change order for the Twin Pad Arena and Library Building project. The change order is for the provision of a second floor storage room, as well as a reconfiguration of the ice resurfacer work area, adding 517 square feet of operational area to the building, resulting in 3 additional weeks to the project schedule at a total cost of $234,202 plus HST. On behalf of the General Government Section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that council approve the recommendations in this report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Snell. Any questions or comments? All right, I do have a resolution that council receives the Coordinated Committee reports of November 24th, 2022 as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. Mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor DeLeo, second by Councillor Belanger. All in favor? Carries unanimously. Moving on to 8.2, accounts. That council approved the September 1 to 30th, 2022 accounts in the amount of $11,015,813.89. This is with regards to Coordinated Committee. Questions or comments? Seeing none, mover and a seconder. Councillor White, Councillor DeLeo, all in favor? Carried. Moving on to 8.2, that council approved the September 1 to 30th, 2022 accounts in the amount of $11 million. Nope, just did that one, my mistake. 8.3, accounts October 1st to 31st, 2022, that council approve the October 1 to 31, 2022 accounts in the amount of $9,598,353.72. Questions or comments? Seeing none, mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Snell, Councillor Timms, all in favor? Carried. Item number 8.4, Executive Assistant to the CAO Mayor and Council's report dated December 1st, 2022, that Council received the information report pertaining to proclamations and flag raising for the months of November 2022 for information. Questions or comments? Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor DeLeo, Councillor Ego, all in favor? The motion is also carried. Director of Public Works report dated December 1st, 2022, resolved that council does hereby confirm that the supply and delivery of, let's go back. We're going to get that report first, I think. Is that correct? Kevin, did you wish to speak to this? No? We're good? All right then. It is resolved that council does hereby confirm that the supply and delivery of one specialized transit vehicle in accordance with RFP number PW 2022-26 be awarded to Move Mobility, Inc. in the amount of $158,674.32, excluding HST. Questions or comments? Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Timms. All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Moving on to 8.6, Director of Recreation and Events. It is resolved that council approve the updated terms of reference for the Town of Wasaga Beach Twin Pad Arena and Library Construction Steering Group as revised. Questions or comments? Seeing none, a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Belanger, seconded by Councillor DeLeo. All in favor? The motion is also carried. Item number 9, community announcements. Is there any members of council who have any announcements they wish to make? All right, moving on to item number 10, notice of motion. We have none. Item number 11, motions where notice has been previously given. We have none. And calling of committee meetings. So we have December the 8th, 2022, coordinated committee at 9 a.m. and December 15th, 2022, regular council meeting at 9 a.m. Item number 13, bylaws. 13.1, resolved that the following bylaws be received and to be deemed to have read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered as follows. 2022-84, a bylaw to appoint a deputy fire chief for the town of Wasaga Beach, Dan Bell. 2022-85, a bylaw to appoint an alternate committee emergency management coordinator, the town of Wasaga Beach, Dan Bell. 2022-86, a bylaw to make appointments to local boards and repeal bylaw 2018-98. 2022-87, a bylaw to adopt the terms of reference for the Town of Wasaga Beach Committee of Adjustments and to repeal bylaw 2011-118. And 2022-88, a bylaw to appoint a community emergency management coordinator, the town of Wasaga Beach, Fire Chief Craig Williams. 2022-89, a bylaw to provide for the indemnification of current and former council members, board members, employees, and volunteers, and to repeal bylaw number 2020-25. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. If you like, we can pull that one for following closed session.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. 2022-89 then has been pulled. 2022-90, a bylaw to deem parts of Register Plan 1695, the town of Wasaga Beach, not to be a registered plan of subdivision, Lot 70 and 71 identified on Plan 1695. 2022-91, a bylaw to amend Town of Wasaga Beach Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 2003-60 as amended, Sterling Homes, Westbury Road, Inc. And 2022-92, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2022-52, authorizing the execution of a municipal contribution agreement with the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation, OLG Sportsbook. I do not have a resolution here. Is that required, Madam Clerk?
Your worship, that is the resolution. So it's resolved that the following bylaws be received and deemed to be have been read a first, second, third time and passed numbers as follows. And you did read them all. We have pulled 2022-89, so all others will be adopted by this motion.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Belanger. All in favor? This motion is carried unanimously. All right, we're now moving on to closed session. Resolved that pursuant to Section 239, 2A, B, and D, and F of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, the next portion of the December 1st, 2022 regular council meeting will move into closed session to discuss the security of the property of the municipality or local boards and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, personal matters about an identifiable individual and labor relations or employee negotiations. Questions or comments? Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor DeLeo, seconded by Councillor Ego. All in favor? That motion is carried, and we'll now move into closed session.
And we're live, Your Worship.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we'll just do a quick rise and report out of in camera. We talked about a few items. Legal counsel Michael Starr with respect to an indemnification matter, and we also talked with the Director of Finance with respect to some development charge appeals, and we then spoke to the other items of past dates in closed session and passed our motion for those. And then we received a report from our Human Resources Manager with respect to the permanent new Chief Administrative Officer. Before I go any further, I'm going to go back to bylaws 13.1, Madam Clerk, 22-89. A bylaw to provide for the indemnification of current and former council members, board members, employees, and volunteers, and to repeal bylaw 2025. So we talked about, we dealt with the other bylaws through a resolution. We'll deal with this one now, is resolve that the following bylaw 22-89 be received and be deemed to have read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered number 22-89. Questions or comments on that matter? Seeing none, a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor White, Councillor Belanger, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Just a note that Deputy Mayor Bray did not vote on that and was away from that during closed session.
Your Worship. Deputy Mayor Snell was not present for item number 1 in the closed session.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to 15.
15.1, Your Worship. We're gonna just read the
15.1,
motions.
Yes, thank you. 15.1, Legal Counsel resolved that Council received the closed session verbal update from Legal Counsel pertaining to an indemnification matter for information. Questions or comments? Mover and a seconder. Councillor White, Councillor Timms, all in favor. That motion is carried unanimously with the exception of Deputy Mayor Snell, who has claimed a pecuniary interest on that matter. Moving on to 15.2, resolved that Council confirm the direction provided to the Director of Finance and Treasurer in closed session pertaining to a legal matter for information. Questions or comments? Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor DeLeo, second by Councillor Belanger. All in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to item 15.3, resolved that Council receive the following closed session reports as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. Special meeting of Council November 16th, 2022, closed session meetings. Special meeting of Council November 17th, 2022, closed session meetings. And special meeting of Council November 24th, 22, closed session meetings. And coordinated committee meeting November 24th, 22, closed session meetings. Questions or comments? Mover and a seconder. Councillor Timms and Councillor Ego, all in favor. Carried unanimously. Moving on to 15.4, Manager of Human Resources. Resolved that Council confirm the direction provided to staff pertaining to the Chief Administrative Officer matter in closed session. Questions or comments? Mover and a seconder. Councillor DeLeo, Councillor Timms, all in favor. Motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to confirmatory bylaw 16.1, 2022-93, resolved that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Wasaga Beach at its regular meeting held Thursday, December 1st, 2022, be received and to be deemed to be read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered number 22-93. Questions or comments? Mover and a seconder. Councillor Ego, Councillor Timms, all in favor. Motion is carried. And this meeting is adjourned.